Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I hope that you all had an amazing weekend. I hope that wherever you live, it's nice and warm and sunny. We have been having a few days of sunshine, which has felt like it hasn't been the case in forever, so it feels so good, even though it's still been kind of cold outside. It's been so nice to just feel the sun shining down. Oh my goodness. My brain, my heart, my soul, my body, all of me needs the sun. And I am so excited to spring forward because one thing I hate about winter is when it starts getting dark at like 5 o'clock. That drives me crazy. I seriously think I have seasonal depression or like seasonal affect disorder. Is that what they call it? SAD. Seasonal affect something. It's something along those lines. But I think that I have that because every single winter when it starts to get dark early, I just feel like I could sleep my life away and I just want to hibernate until I can start seeing the sun and stepping outside without a bunch of layers and, hearing the birds chirp, knowing that it's going to stay light out longer so you don't feel like you have to go to bed by 6 o'clock. Like, makes all the difference in the world. One thing that my husband teases me about is that when we wake up in the morning, obviously all of our blinds are closed. And when we wake up in the morning, the very first thing that I do is go throughout the entire house and open all of the blinds. And he's always like, it is incredible how your mood changes as soon as light peeks through a window. And I'm like, I cannot deal with the dark. So I don't know if anybody else is like that, but there's light coming in the window right now as I'm recording this podcast. And I'm like, thank you, baby Jesus. I need all of the light. Okay, you guys, so before we get started, we're going to talk about emotional storage today and what that means. But before we do that, I want to share with you guys that I have a free 3-day mini course coming up. It's open to women and men. By the time that you hear this, I will have already announced it. So I'll go ahead and tell you it is called Shift. And again, it's a 3-day, absolutely free mini course. So if you're hearing this, it'll be Monday, the 24th that you're hearing this episode if you listen right away. And we're going to get started the 25th, and then it will go on the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. If I have any other juicy things to say, I might extend it. But as of right now, it is going to be 3 days. It is open to anyone. So normally I only work with women in my business and I only open my coaching programs to women. However, in this free 3-day course, the whole basis is teaching you the foundational things that you need to shift your life. I am definitely an observer. And I listen more than I speak. And when I'm out and about, when I'm in public places, when I'm just around groups of people, I so often I hear cries for help in people. They don't even realize that they're doing it, but it's like, I'm never going to get out of this situation. Things in my life are horrible. This person hurt me so bad. Everything is coming from past events that have just really made them feel like nothing is going to change, nothing's going to get better. Maybe they feel not worthy, not good enough. They want the help and they want to grow and they want to change, but they don't even know how. And I'm just seeing this as a huge thing. And honestly, as an observer, it just makes me sad whenever I feel like people think that they're stuck in their current circumstance forever. And I know that without the proper tools and awareness that they will be stuck in that place forever. Because in order for things to change, we have to change. And our habits, our routines, our thinking, everything has to change in order for us to shift. And so Shift is a 3-day free course that I'm doing. It'll be through Facebook Live. So if you are not on my Facebook or we're not friends, you need to make sure that you shoot me a message and say, hey, I want to be in your free shift course, and do it as soon as possible because today is Monday and we technically get started tomorrow. So I want you to make sure, reach out to me, Macie Renee, MACIE RENAE. If you have trouble finding me through Facebook, maybe reach out to me first on Instagram. That's Macie Renee _, spelled the same way, MACIE RENAE _. Send me a message and say, hey, add me to the Facebook group. We'll connect through Facebook, and I will be doing the training, and I hope that everybody gets a lot out of it. So if you want access to it, let me know. I'll also keep it up for a while after it's over. So that way, if you're late hearing this, like let's say you hear it 2 weeks from now and it's like, I don't know, March 4th or something, and you're like, oh shoot, I missed the free course, still message me and reach out. I'll pop you in there and you can watch the replays while they're available, because what's going to happen, guys, is whenever this course is over, and again, you're getting it free, but whenever this course is over, it's going to be archived and it's going to be turned into a digital course that goes up for sale on my website. Probably won't be that expensive. However, if you'd rather get it for free than have to pay a fee to learn the same information, then I would encourage you to get in while it's free. And you can be a gent, a lady, a gent, whatever you are. I don't care. I just want you to learn this information and get something out of it. Okay, so let's talk about emotional storage and what this really means to me. This is just what I call it. Other people may call it different things, but what happens in our life whenever we have experiences that we remember? So like our long-term memories, for instance. When we have a long-term memory, it means that there was a connection made in our system, okay, that was it was so deeply emotional to us that it created an imprint on us. And when that imprint is created, then we have long-term memories. So whether a good memory or a poor memory or whatever the memory is, traumatic, it could be anything. When you remember something that has happened in your past, you emotionally store it, okay, because it created an impact in your nervous system at the time that it was happening. Now, what is so interesting about that is several of us in the world may experience similar situations, and yet some of us may have a memory created from that, and others may not. So let's just say you have an adult that can remember as a kid jamming their finger so hard, it was so painful, and now they're hesitant to open drawers, right? Like a dresser drawer or something, because maybe that's how they jammed their finger. And so if you ask them why they're so cautious of why they close drawers so gently, they might say, well, whenever I was 7, I was closing this drawer and I jammed my fingers and it was so painful and it hurt me so bad. And, I remember screaming, and I remember my mom coming in and, asking me what happened and just crying hysterically and then having to put ice on it. Okay. When we can remember things like that, it is because at that point in time, our brain made a stamp of like, okay, this was emotionally traumatic in some way. And it creates this stamp in our mind and creates a long-term memory for us. It affected our nervous system. It affected our body, okay? And then we carry that on. Whereas you can have another adult who jammed their finger as a kid, and maybe they're going through old childhood pictures with their mom, and their mom is like, oh, look at this, when your little finger was all wrapped up. You remember when you jammed your finger in the dresser, closing the dresser drawer? And that adult may be like, no, I completely forgot about that. I didn't even realize that I had done that. Okay. And it's like, why does one adult still close drawers very carefully because they jam their finger, and why does another adult who did that as a kid have no recollection of it at all? And the reason being is that each of our bodies decide how they're going to process information and what sticks with us as an imprint, okay? What becomes emotional storage. That is why whenever I talk about anxiety, I'm always a little bit nervous because people do get offended at times because we carry that as part of our identity so much. And it doesn't really serve us to do that. But when we do say like, I have anxiety, that's why I can't do this, that's why I can't do that, we're using that as a part of our personality to justify those negative feelings and the emotional storage that we have. So if we can say why we have it, then we reinforce that it's okay to, feel what we're feeling. But at the same time, that's what also makes it very hard to overcome the very things that sometimes are creating suffering in our life. Like, we don't even want to be suffering in that way because it feels miserable, and our body is like, oh my gosh, we're constantly under stress, we're constantly under anxiety, we're constantly under depression. But at the same time, when we're experiencing those emotions, there are chemicals releasing into our body that help create those emotions, like anxiety and fear and sadness and anger and all of that. And it's scientifically proven that when we have that kind of emotion, anger, sadness, fear, whatever it is, that the chemical in our body only releases, get this, for 60 seconds to 2 minutes. Okay, I want to repeat that. When you feel anger, when you feel sadness, when you feel like anxiety and all of that, the chemical that creates those emotions are only released for 60 seconds up to 2 minutes, which means that after those 2 minutes, there's no longer that chemical releasing in your body to make you feel that way, which means that if you have prolonged anxiety, prolonged fear, prolonged sadness, prolonged anger, and you're angry 4 hours later, okay? What that means is that you're so addicted to those chemicals that release in your body that you rethink the thing that made you sad, that made you anxious, that made you upset, so much so that it continues to release the chemicals over and over again. So this is very significant. Like, learning this has been so interesting to me because it's like our brain doesn't want us to feel it for more than 2 minutes. Our brain is like, okay, here's your 2-minute pity party. Have it, right? There's no reason to have any more than that. But for us, we've been so conditioned that that kind of stuff is normal, and we believe it for so long that we make it a part of our personality. We believe it to be a part of us. So when you believe that something becomes a part of you, once you no longer have it, then you start to have withdrawals. Okay, this is what your subconscious body is doing and the way that your body is communicating with your brain. So once you are no longer feeling it, because that 2-minute rush is over, the chemicals have stopped in your body. There's no reason you should feel continued anger. There's no reason you should continue fear because the chemicals are no longer there. The chemicals that made you feel that way are no longer there. So what that means is that if you still feel that after 2 minutes, you're addicted to your way of thinking and you're addicted to your way of feeling, and you are prolonging it. And as we prolong it, it becomes emotionally stored in our body. And when it becomes emotionally stored in your body, the more that you think about it, the more hardwired it becomes. So for the person that jammed their finger as a child, they had 2 minutes of pain and trauma, right? Technically, like, their chemicals were releasing from their brain, and they were like, this is so traumatic, and and that's fine. We're all entitled to how we feel. We are always entitled to how we feel. It's okay. I'm not knocking any of that. But what happened is, after that passed, even though everything was technically okay, they relived in their brain the trauma of that and the thoughts of that and the feeling in their body of that over and over and over again, and created hard wiring for that very thing. So as an adult, they can still remember all of that happening because it changed their neurological system. It imprinted their nervous system. So now it's stamped on them. But just because something is stamped on them doesn't mean that they can't change it. It just means they have to be less addicted to their thinking and their worry and their fear of it happening again, right? But they've reinforced that over and over again subconsciously. So now it's stuck with them. Whereas the other person who maybe jammed their finger as a kid has no recollection of it, it didn't imprint their body the same way. They didn't think more about it after they felt better. They had the 2 minutes of pain and ouch, this hurts and blah. And then they probably went on playing and thought, this is no big deal. It's not going to keep me from opening a drawer again. It's not going to mean that every single time I open or close a drawer that it's going to happen again. And because they don't perseverate on it, they don't create that subconscious pattern. And so now they grow up as an adult, and the only way they remember they jam their fingers because there's maybe a picture of their little finger wrapped up, and their mom says, hey, do you remember when you jammed your finger? And they're like, no, I don't remember that. So we store many things emotionally. And the tricky thing about this is that from birth to age 7, the way that our brain waves operate, everything goes into our subconscious. So anything that happens between birth and 7 years of age pretty much is guaranteed to make a part of your subconscious system. That's why when I'm working with my clients, a lot of times I'm trying to identify anything that they heard, anything that they witnessed, anything that went down in their childhood that they can remember from 7 or younger, because those imprints, that emotional storage in their body, is probably going to be the most traumatic and hard things to fix. Because even after age 7, how they see life and what they base their decisions on are built upon the trauma that they experience from the first 7 years of life. So that's what's tricky. And then you just add and add and add on that in your life. So the whole point of, becoming aware and doing this work, and the reason that I even want to teach you guys in the 3-day free masterclass of Shift, is to really understand more about how the mind-body connection works and why things get stored the way they do, and how you can overcome it, and how you can really create a completely different trajectory of your life if you just have some awareness and make the decision to shift some of the things that you're currently experiencing, holding on to, believing all of that. It's all very interesting to see how studies actually show that the brain can change everything, that your mind can heal your body, right? But first you have to unprogram everything that you've programmed. And some of it has been programmed completely subconsciously. And everything that's in the subconscious is what you have thought about, done, repeated over and over and over and over and over again. It's like a habit, right? A habit is just something that you've reinforced over and over and over again, so much so that you don't even have to think about it. There are people that can drive 30 minutes to work and then they show up in the parking lot and they're like, how did I even get here? I do it sometimes. Sometimes I'm so on autopilot. Like this happened last week. I needed to go see a different kiddo on Monday morning at 9 than I usually do. I usually see this other kiddo every single Monday at 9. So my subconscious has programmed that the way we go is straight, leaving my house, straight for 25 minutes nonstop. And that's how I'm programmed. And I didn't even realize this. This was so interesting whenever I realized this, because I didn't realize that I was programmed, But I was, because instead of seeing the kid that I always see at 9 o'clock in the morning where I drive 25 minutes straight, I was seeing a kid in the complete opposite direction, and I needed to get on the expressway. And then it took 5 minutes after passing the expressway that I was like, oh my God, I really am a program. I'm on autopilot. I zoned out. I didn't even realize that I needed to be going a different way. I consciously knew there was this other kid I needed to see. But I didn't realize how autopilot I was, in that I kept going straight when I needed to turn left and get on the highway for this kid. Now, I could get there both ways, but it took about 5 minutes longer, so it wasn't like it was a huge deal. But in that moment, I was like, wow, we really are programmed. I mean, you think about it. Our brain is so programmed. You don't have to teach yourself how to get out of bed in the morning. You're programmed. Your brain knows how to sit up. Your brain knows how to maneuver over, scoot over to put your feet on the floor. Your brain knows how to stand up. Your brain knows how to walk to the bathroom. It knows how to turn on the light switch. It knows how to walk to the toilet and lift up the toilet seat lid. It knows how to sit down. It knows how to go to the bathroom. It knows how to flush the toilet, stand up, wash your hands, turn on the water, pump the soap. You don't have to reteach your brain that every single day because you're a program. That's habit. Once you learn a skill and you do it over and over and over and over, you become a program, which in many ways is so beneficial to us. It's so beneficial, except whenever we have trauma, emotional storage in our body, things that aren't serving us, limiting beliefs that aren't serving us. Think of all the things your parents taught you as a kid. For some people, that may be wonderful things. But for other kids, other young adults, whatever, it may be that you've been abandoned. It may be that you were raised by, someone else. So maybe you have trauma that you weren't wanted by your biological parents. And even though maybe your adoptive parents never made you feel any less, right? And they loved you as if you were their own, it doesn't change the fact that they can't control the feelings that that child has in their body, right? And if they're creating trauma from it or gratitude, like that's the hard thing. So we all take these experiences in our life and we create habits from them. So just like I'm teaching my money course right now, and there are people in there that were taught, money doesn't grow on trees. We'll never have nice things. It's bad to want nice things. If you want nice things, you're going against what it says in the Bible. Like the Bible says money's the root of all evil. So you think about those things. If you heard that growing up or you saw your family struggling with money growing up, that becomes emotional storage. And the more it's repeated in your childhood, the more it becomes a subconscious program. And so by the time you're 18, the next thing you know, you're penny pinching. You're afraid to spend anything. Your account may be going into the negative. And all you can hear is stuff from your childhood about you need to save your money. You need to not want nice things. Not everybody can afford nice things. You're a program. And the thing about it is we become so much of a program that eventually we don't even have to tell our body what to do. It does everything for us, which is a problem because it's not our body that's supposed to do everything for us. It's the mind that's supposed to tell the body what to do. But then our body starts telling our mind what to do. And then we become we get stuck in these vicious, yucky cycles where we're creating a life every single day that we don't even want, that we're not even 110% satisfied with, but we're a program, and we've got so much emotional storage built up in our body that we think it's never going to get better and it's never going to change. And this is how people are in the same place 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, on and on and on and on and on. So if you're a big dreamer and you have a dream of achieving all of these things in your life, none of that is going to happen unless you change your programming. Like for me, let me just tell you how this is showing up in my life right now, and I'm annoyed AF. But it's true. Okay, so here's the thing. I was a program when I was going every day to get sweet tea. We've talked about my addiction to sweet tea. No, I have still not caved. I plan to never touch it again. But do you want to know what, real honesty? Let me break it down and be super honest with you. This past week was so challenging. And I actually had the thought, if I hadn't told my podcast listeners, and I hadn't told my Facebook, and I hadn't told my Instagram, and I hadn't told friends that I was going to give up sweet tea, I would be through Chick-fil-A right now getting a sweet tea to cope with the stress that I'm experiencing in my body. And it was scary. It was scary to see how much my mind, after 40 days sober, sweet tea sober, my mind was like, yeah, let's go get a sweet tea because you have stress, so it would be justified. Like my body was actually telling me it would be justified. So just go do it. And I got to thinking and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why people don't stick to things. This is why people relapse. This is why people, like, we're so programmed. It takes so much work to reprogram ourselves. And I could have caved and I could have gone and, got that sweet tea. And I probably would have been 10 times worse than I was before. I probably would have bought a gallon a day, to be completely honest. Like I'm still craving it. I'm still in that stage where I'm training my brain to be stronger than my body, because my body wants to get in the car on autopilot and go through the drive-thru and get a sweet tea because of any emotional storage that's coming up that I have to deal with, right? I used to use sweet tea as a buffer. I used to use my phone as a buffer. Since I consciously don't allow myself to do that anymore, my body is having the knee-jerk reaction of just go to Chick-fil-A and get the sweet tea. Just go and you'll feel better. Just go and it'll be okay. Nobody will ever know, But I do know. And God has a funny sense of humor. I told you guys I'm a part-time pediatric occupational therapist. And like I said, this week was super hard for me and I could feel myself wanting to so badly go back to sweet tea, but I'm addicted to it. I'm not like the average person that can just enjoy one every now and then. I was going every day, getting a large sweet tea, no ice, sometimes 2 a day. And every single Saturday I was going and getting a gallon because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. That is addictive behavior. That's no different than someone who's addicted to shopping, addicted to alcohol, addicted to heroin, addicted to cocaine, addicted to whatever they're addicted to. A cigarette, it doesn't matter. I was addicted and it was not serving me. My health was falling apart. I knew every single time I drank sweet tea that I felt sick, and yet the doctors weren't diagnosing me with anything. So it was like, well, I'm not diagnosed with anything, so I can keep putting my body through this even though it's begging for me to stop. How many people know that smoking's bad and they'll continue to do it because their body is like, this is just what we do. At 2 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, we have a cigarette every single day. Why wouldn't you do that? That's what the body does. It's a program. It's emotional storage. When there's things that we don't want to be looking at or things we don't want to be doing, it finds the buffer. That's what it does. And so that's exactly what I was experiencing. And like I said, God has this funny sense of humor because I have worked with over 250 families easily in my job as an occupational therapist. And I got a family on my caseload where the family member is in the early stages of recovery for, obviously not things like sweet tea, but still they're in their early stages of recovery. And when I got put on this case, I had somewhat of an emotional breakdown because I thought, how can I help them? I don't relate, or I don't know how I'm going to say the right things or do the right things. I don't know, am I strong enough for this? And here's what's so crazy. It's that I'm going through it with my own substance, which happens to be sweet tea. And I know people probably laugh and they think that's not even the same thing. But addiction is addiction. So it doesn't matter that it's not a heroin needle. It's still me choosing to self-sabotage, choosing not to look at my emotions, choosing all of the things that, I don't want to cope with. And it's still my body having this knee-jerk reaction of, I need it. Let's just go do it. I need it. You need it. And so when I was placed on this case, I thought, God, you have such a funny sense of humor because seriously, I have to be strong and not allowing my stress to make me go back to the thing that was killing my stomach and, making me go to the doctor thinking I had cancer because I was hurting so bad. I was nauseous every single day. My stomach hurt every single day. Literally thought I had stomach cancer. And so I was thinking, I'm working with this family now where I am now able to hold the space for them to feel supported in their journey of getting clean and staying clean. And it's very humbling to know, to an extent, not at the full extent of maybe what they are experiencing, but knowing how hard it is to show up every single day and be living not numb every single day, and to be stuck with only your mind every single day and all the things that you've emotionally stored every single day, and be able to show up strong and choose that you don't need it. whatever it is. Oh my gosh. And I just, I kind of giggled because I was so stressed. I'm like, if somebody offered me a sweet tea right now, I'd probably take it. But then I was like, no, 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 no. And then I got to thinking about this family that I'm serving. I'm like, I wonder how many times that family member has thought that they need it, and that it would just be so much easier to go back and, buffer their emotion away, their stored trauma away. Like if they just relapsed, then they'd feel better, And so now I know the amount of strength that it takes in this situation, even though it's not quite the same thing. And I recognize that, but it is in a way, and I understand, and I'm able to hold space of like how, and have more compassion, I think too, because it's like, I know that you're doing your best. I know with every ounce of me that you're doing the best in what you have, and not using something that you used to use to make yourself feel better for the sake of your child. So that's been very powerful for me. And yeah, I mean, when we emotionally store things, it takes a lot of time to clean out that storage trunk. I tell my clients all the time, imagine each of your energetic chakras as a locker, and you store things in each of those lockers, relationship issues in one locker, self-esteem issues in another locker, and you just pile it up and pile it up and pile it up until literally you're so sick you don't even know who you are anymore, your body's breaking down. And then eventually you have to open the locker. You have to, and you have to look at it. And everybody does that at a different time. And some people never ever do it because they don't even know it's possible. And that's why I'm teaching the 3-day free course. I want people to see what is possible. And I want you to really take your power back and understand why your brain works the way that it does, what it's trying to do. And I want to be able to help people that are willing to, comment on the Facebook Live as it's going on and say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what's really like hard for me. And I want to be able to say, hey, look, I can help you. I can help you through that. So that's all I've got today. I adore you all. I thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please go leave a written review for me if you would be so willing. It would mean the world to me. That's how more people discover and find me. When I'm higher up on the charts, it's easier for people when they're doing searches. And so it means a lot to me. And if you're loving the podcast and you're getting value of it, share it with your friends. I know several people do that, and trust me, I'm so grateful for that. But if you're on iTunes specifically, please leave a written review. I love you guys. And if you want to be in my free course, that is going to take place on February 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. And if you're listening to this the day it releases, it's the 24th. So make sure you get in contact with me so I can throw you into the free group. And if you listen to this later than February 27th, ask to be in it so that way you can watch the replays while they're up. I don't know how long I'm going to keep them up, but you can go ahead and ask me in case you're hearing this, weeks from these dates. And if it's still available for free, I will of course put you in the group. And if it's not, I'll be sure to send you the link to my website so that you can see it as a digital course in case that's something that you're interested in. So I love you all. I hope you have an amazing week this week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.